Morning, Australia. Good afternoon, America. Good evening, Europe and UK. Welcome to this first edition of Simplified Relationships for 2021. I'm Jay from JMC, your relationship coach, here to discuss, explore, learn new things, strategies, and ways we can handle our relationships in 2021 and the future. So thank you for joining us wherever you are in the world. If you are here, don't be afraid to jump in and say hi. I'd like to say hi to everyone that's here. If you're watching the replay, put hashtag replay. How have you been? How's the new year, the Christmas New Year for you? Have you had a good Christmas? Have you survived the struggles, the turmoils, the ups and downs, the fun times, the good times, and not so good times of the Christmas New Year period? And you've made it to 2021. Is it any different? We're still trying to figure it out. Doesn't look like it is. I'm already seeing the captions come out saying that they already want a refund for 2021, and it's only 17 days or 16 days into it, depending where you are in the world. So mine was pretty good. Got to get away to visit family and friends and take a bit of time off, which was good. So, but yeah, I hope you guys got to spend some time with family and friends, or at least the ones closest to you that you love the most, or at least got to spend at least a few hours or get to talk to them and stuff, because it has not been easy for a lot of people around the world. It's been a bit of a struggle. This year, we are going to be really delving into relationships on this show because there's been a lot of questions. I was talking to a lot of people over the new year about how we were going to tackle 2021, and with a few clients that I'm working with at the moment as well, the issues that they're dealing with and stuff. And I thought, you know what, I can get on here for an hour and talk and give you my perception of relationships and how they should be handled and so forth. Or I can bring you guys in and ask you how you've tackled it, because it's not about me, it's about you. I get an understanding as a relationship coach. I get an understanding of how you think, how you process things, how you see things, how you are in your world, for me to help you. So I thought, well, if we're going to do that, why not let's just bring some of the amazing people out there on the show, excuse me, and ask them how they've handled it and their experiences have gone through. And I thought, why not a better way to start the year by bringing in someone who has transformed their lives over the last couple of years, has had her struggles up and down with herself and her weight and mindset and different, like we all go through, our different areas of our lives that we struggle with and doubt ourselves and question ourselves and so forth. But I sit there and think, well, then if you then lose half your body weight and you go through some of the toughest times to get through, to transform yourself into a new person, there's got to be some ups and downs. There's got to be some questions and doubts. There's got to be a lot of those things. And I thought, well, why not bring someone on who does that? So without further ado, let's bring in our special guest for today. There she is, Miss Rosie D. We can't hear you. You have no sound.
Try that. Is that
Oh,
better?
there we go.
Major tech issues. Pods failed. That's okay.
Yes. One of the first things they say about technology, don't use pods on live streams, because that's what happens. Too many people are like, I'm in the middle of something and there's no sound.
Yeah, so we'll stick to the old wired version there.
Exactly. So welcome. Thank you for getting up. It is early this morning in Australia. For some of you, it's late evening, and some of you, it's the middle of the day. So actually, we got a couple of comments there coming in. Who we got watching? Sandy. Hey,
Sandy.
thanks for tuning in. We've got Christina's in the house. Hey,
Hey,
how are
Christina.
you? Yes. Happy New Year, Happy New Me. Yes, exactly. Christina saying hello to Sandy. I want a refund. Yes. Yeah, there's been a few people asking that. Miss Sandy saying hello to you. Hey, Happy New Year, buddy. Thanks for joining us. There we go. A few welcomes and hellos to you all. So just before we get into it, what I'm going to do, just bear with us for a sec. This is not going to work out as great as the way I wanted it, but just bear with me this moment. I wanted people to see, now, as you can see, Miss Rosie sitting there looking all fine and beautiful as always. Just going to flash up a
Half
couple
asleep on a Sunday, actually, but you know.
I'm just going to flash up a couple of images of what Miss Rosie used to look like. Now, these are not, it's easy to say, I'm going to send some photos in and stuff like that. And a lot of people say, yeah, it's easy, but it is quite a shock when you look at these things for some people. So let me just throw a couple of photos up here. We've got this one here. Is it going to come up? Oh, right in the middle there.
Yep,
There
my
you
big
are.
cheeky smile. Yep.
Yep. Having sort of like a Sunday lunch or something in the backyard.
That was, yeah, birthday party, cutting the birthday cake. Yeah.
I didn't know if it was a birthday party or a big juicy steak. You're looking very excited about it.
You know what?
Where you're out and dinner. So how long ago were these photos?
Look, those ones there, probably about five years, maybe.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And then we've got this one from where you were to where you are now.
Yeah, 2 different family photos those were done.
Oh, that's right. Yes, because the one on the left, you were in a park with the family, and then the other one by yourself. And there you were at a wedding, and there where you were a few years later, putting some makeup on. Were you? Or you at a dinner table? No, I think that was taking.
No, it's makeup. Yeah, it's makeup.
Yeah. So just to sort of fill us in, at your heaviest, how much did you weigh? And we know it's not a nice thing to ask a woman.
It's not a nice question to ever ask. No, look, my heaviest I was 151 kilos, so kgs.
Yep.
What's pounds? I think that's about.
Hey Google, what's 150 kilograms in pounds?
150 kilograms is 330.693 pounds.
There you
336 pounds. And how many years ago was that?
That would have been
just.
It's still talking to you.
Kilograms.
Hey Google, stop.
4 years ago, I would have started. 4 years almost exactly started the journey. So that would have been 4 years ago.
And you lost the weight. How'd the process go? You got down to, what was your lowest weight?
The lowest weight was 71. So exactly, half my weight. Half me. Yep.
And what was the process with how you lost the weight?
So I had 3.5 years ago, I had gastric sleeve surgery. So for those of you who don't know what that is, they remove 3/4 of your stomach. So you can't eat as much food. So there's a lot of sort of pre-diets and things you've got to do before that. So I lost 20 kilos before I had that surgery, and then had the surgery and slowly was losing since then. And then had an additional surgery only 13 months ago.
And that was for?
Excess skin removal, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
So obviously when you lose the weight, you've got all the skin there, but nothing to fill it.
Exactly.
And the process of that, they virtually looked like you'd been cut in half, wasn't it?
Yeah. So they basically, you have about that much that's still attached at your back, and they take right around your body and take the excess skin out and then lift it up. So they took 5 kilos of skin.
Wow. And you had a name for it, didn't you?
I did. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. So I used to call my stomach Gus.
Gus.
And I don't know why, but he came up with Gus the gorilla, because I don't know, because he looked like a gorilla. So Gus was cut off, and Gus is not coming back.
So you got down to, once all that surgery was off and everything, you got down to what weight?
I was 71 was my lowest. So yeah, I don't know why, but when they took that 5 kilos off, it didn't alter my scales at all. So I don't know if it was fluid or what, but yep, 71 was my lowest.
You had a lot of swelling too, of course, from
Yeah. So I mean, it was a huge recovery, that one. That one was, well, I'm still recovering. I still can't feel some of the top of my thighs. So it's about an 18 months recovery from that one.
Yes.
You're going to share the story, aren't you?
No. No, it's we won't go into the interesting way that you know that you can't feel the side of your thighs, but we don't want, it's too early for some people who are watching, so we won't gross them out.
Okay.
But and you've gone up or gone down since the removal of the skin and weight?
So I have gained 10 kilos
Yep.
since my lowest. So I sit about the 81. I'd like to get down about another 5, because I do feel like that 71 was a little bit light for me. And that was at doctor's recommendation as well. But that's quite normal to lose that much weight and then gain around that 10 kilo mark when it comes to bariatric surgery and weight loss surgery.
Yeah.
So quite comfortable with that.
So with you're a big girl most of your life, is that correct?
I was a size 16 from 16.
Yep.
And I got up to a size 24.
Yep. And at the time when you decided that I can't do this anymore, I got to do something about it. I mean, you and I have been friends, and I know that you had a lot of back issues at the time when you were carrying heaviest. If I can say, there are times you and I had discussions where you would go on a diet and you'd start to lose weight, but then you'd start to feel your back issues. And I guess subconsciously you'd go off the diet and it put it back on because it was compounding your back. Did the doctors talk to you about that at the time and stuff, or was there anything else behind that?
I've got a slip disc in my back. So any excess weight you carry is going to affect that. But I'd started to get foot problems where the arch of your foot drops down. So when I got out of bed in the morning, I could hardly walk. And that was just pure weight on my body. I worked for a retail outlet at the time. So I had to go low down to shelves and get back up. And I was starting to struggle to sort of do that, to stock the low shelves and get back up. And I've always been a big girl, but I've always been a capable girl. And when I started to be not capable is when I went, hang on a second. This is now affecting my life and what I can do.
And how was it at home at that particular time with you struggling with that? Because as I know, you were quite a confident girl. Every time you walked into a room, it didn't matter what size you were, that smile would light up a room. You seemed very confident, but at the same time, you would have had some inner struggles and battles, correct?
Oh, absolutely. I think we all do. Yeah, for sure. So at home, what do you mean by at home with that sort of making the decision, or?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I think family-wise, I think like extended family and that were really happy that I was going to do it because they were starting to get concerned about my weight. I think my husband's always been really supportive, as in, whatever you want to do, I'll support you with it. But I think he had fears as well, like, okay, what if you get super skinny and hot and leave me and things, because you hear a lot of stories about that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely. Yeah, because there's some. Now you sent me some details, just a few people saying hello, gospels in the house, and
oh, hello everybody.
she's like, you're gonna kill me. You sent me a couple of interesting stats here when we were talking the other day. You were saying that 20% of gastric sleeve patients are successful long term. So you're saying that people that have the same surgery as you, only 20% keep it off long term.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Because even though you have your stomach removed and your stomach still stretches. So if I constantly overeat, I'm going to be in exactly the same position as I was. So my surgeon said to me, and I always keep this in mind, I'm always going to be that overweight person. I always am, because it's so easy to go back to that. You're always going to be constantly watching what you eat. It's not okay, I'm dropped the weight now, it's all better. It's not. You're constantly working on yourself.
How do you find yourself having to deal with that? Like when you hear him say that, do you sort of go, I got that, no way I'm going to be that fat person, or do you do accept it and go, okay, well, it's just going to be a struggle? And does that come into it, thinking, am I doing the right thing and so forth?
It depends on the day that you ask me. Look, it's really hard some days. Like fat brain kicks in and you want to eat that bag of M&Ms.
Yeah.
You want the whole bag. You don't want a couple, you want the whole bag. And you'll sit in front of the TV like you did, and you'll eat the whole bag.
Yeah.
Trouble is now it will make me very sick.
Yeah.
Now I know that it's going to make me sick, and I still do it some days. And why? It's just that emotional eating still there, and it's working that out. So I don't think it ever goes away. Ever goes away. And you're constantly going, Rose, what are you doing? Why are you eating that? You don't really want to eat that.
Do you find that you don't do that as much now because you started? Because I mean, in a way, you're trying to change like 37 years of habit.
Yeah.
To now you've got to retrain yourself as the new person in your mindset. And there are still days where you go, I just feel like crap. I'm just going to eat crap. And then you eat it and you go, oh. You find that's becoming less and less?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And then that you feel like crap after you've done it, like absolute rubbish. Your energy levels drop. Because you're sort of eating, I guess, less food too, you've got to make sure you feed your body good food.
Yeah.
Otherwise, that's the fuel. And if you're eating M&Ms only, because that's all you can fit in, you're going to feel like rubbish.
Yeah.
So you notice that. So then I guess it's that learning process. Man, I felt crap for 3 days after eating those M&Ms.
Yeah.
So look, maybe I better give myself some more protein today and maybe leave carbs completely for a bit.
And you were saying about before when we we're talking about family at home, and that another stat you sent me here was 75 to 85% of people separate or divorce after having the surgery.
Yeah, it's huge.
Now,
it's huge.
These stats, did you know these stats before or after the operation you had?
I did know them before.
Yep.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, that's scary stats.
Yeah, it's very much, especially I say when we said the 20% of gastric that don't keep it off long term. I mean, it's a lot of money to pay. But then, when it comes to relationships, it's a 3 out of 4 people end up separating or divorcing.
Yeah.
All because they've decided to improve themselves by having the surgery because of whatever reason. Sometimes it's energy, sometimes it's health reasons, sometimes it's to feel better. I mean, there's multitude of reasons for them having it. But to think, okay, well, when you were told that, did that I suppose, I guess it depends on how confident you are in your relationship and if you had many struggles and so forth. So when you heard that before your surgery, were there any doubts about going through with it, or did they show you images of what you would look like and you're like, oh, I don't know, and looking at hubby and the kids and going, oh, you know?
You should have seen his face when he heard those stats.
Yeah.
You know, it was like, oh, crap, okay, that's a bit scary.
Yeah.
And we sort of made a bit of a pact about, you know, we've got to talk this through. Things are going to change, like everything is going to change. And you know what? There is not one aspect of my life that hasn't changed.
Yeah.
Everything has. And we constantly talk about how we feel about it, how he feels about it, because it's just so different. It's so different from the way that people look at you, from the way they talk to you, things that I want to do. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And it's not only people losing the weight and then they go, okay, well, I need to find a new partner because I'm now better than you. See you later. Sometimes it's the partner that goes, okay, I'm going to leave you first because you're going to leave me eventually. So I'm going to pack up and go.
Yeah.
You know, there's certainly a few of that as well. You know, that scared of I'll get in first.
Yeah.
And there are people out there that like really chubby women and then don't actually find their wives attractive anymore.
Yeah.
So,
yes,
you know, there is that.
Different kinds of loves out there, that's for
Absolutely.
sure.
And so, you know, they're not attracted to their wife anymore because she'd dropped some weight. So, you know, there's so many different ways.
Yeah. And that is a good point that a lot of people don't think. They think, well, you know, if someone is losing the weight, they're doing it to improve themselves or for whatever reason. But and it works. And I'm glad you brought it up because there are a lot of times where people go, well, you know, my husband's put on weight and I don't find him attractive anymore, or you know, my wife's put on weight or whatever else. You don't always necessarily think straight away, oh, well, my wife or my husband's dropping weight, and you know, I don't want that to happen. And I go, but they shouldn't do that because it's superficial. But but you know, I'm in love with the person. But sometimes it's still that they've still got to have an attraction. Now, it might not be that they're attracted to big people. They're just attracted to that person because of who they are. But the other thing, I suppose, and you've mentioned it, I think, to me in conversations about when it comes to work and so forth, how people and opportunities come to you differently once you changed your look. So it wasn't just you know, the relationships at home and how people were going to see you there, but it was also in the workplace. You know, I think you've mentioned to me recently, you still occasionally bump into people who haven't seen you in it, and they sort of think, and then you had to tell them who they are, and they're like, oh my God.
Yeah, absolutely. I always joke about it. I'm like, halve your body weight, double your income.
Yeah.
You know, and people go, what? And I'm like, no, seriously. Like I've halved my weight, but my income has doubled. Now that sounds ridiculous, but you see, is it my physical appearance or is it my confidence in myself now?
So I was going to ask. And what about
I don't know.
Also, yeah. What about also, as you talked about before, when you worked in retail, you were struggling to get down and get up. When you get to where you are now, do you find that you're able to do your work any different to what you used to do before? Or do you find it, because you're not in retail anymore, you're now more in working in an office and marketing manager and so forth. So you're more on the phones, you know, I suppose you're running around more on that. Do you find if you did this role back pre surgery, do you think you would have been able to do it just as well?
No. Look, I do a lot of events and things like that, and it's very physical. Like you're running around a lot, you're carrying things. I actually don't think I could have done it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't have had the stamina to do a 24-hour event. Like I just couldn't have done it. Yeah. I would have been too tired. And I think you really can't appreciate the effect on your body of carrying that extra weight around and how tiring that can be. And even it was actually yesterday, I was in a clothes shop and I picked up a size 24 outfit and just held it up and went, man, that's heavy. Like physical fabric on that thing, I went, wow, that's really heavy, let alone actually carrying the weight that fills that.
Yeah.
I found lifting that cloth up really heavy. And I just went, wow.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah, it really did. Yeah.
Yeah. So because this is all about relationships as well, and I mean we want to talk about the surgery as well because it's part of what you've done. But what about personal relationships around you, not just family and not just your close husband and the boys and stuff like that, but family and friends and stuff? How was that process afterwards? Did people see you differently or react differently in any way?
I think you've still got your close friends that know you for you and they're fine. But I lost a lot of friends.
Yeah.
Like say I was the fat one in the group, you know. So they didn't like the fact that I'd become, the hot friend where you'd go out and get the attention when before they'd get the attention over me. So they, boosted their self-esteem. So I wasn't sort of suitable for their group of friends anymore. So that was an interesting one. You definitely learn about people. Other people around me were like, oh gosh, your husband must be so happy now that you've lost that weight. It's like, excuse me? So yeah, people like that just, nope, sorry, just so rude.
Yeah. Yeah. Mind you, we don't have to go into details, but you did tell me that when you had the skin removal, it sort of tightened the body up a little bit more, which hubby was very happy with as well.
Hey, look, let's just say everything changes when you lose that much weight. Everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's good. Just going to bring a comment up. A is put up here. Oh, it's a big one. I have weight problems too, and have tried many times to do something about it. Latest 2020, from April to December, I lost 16 kilos with the help from medication. I stopped taking pills in the beginning of December and feared Christmas. The weight is a little up, and I'm afraid I can't stop it. Every time I tried, it goes up slowly. I will do all I can to avoid surgery, but yes, life is easier with less weight. But should this really control your life? You have any comments on that, Rosie?
I guess it's how it's affecting you. I mean, if you're happy where you are, go for it. I mean, like I said, I was always happy. I had a husband that loved me. I was the life of the party anyway. Look at those photos. That smile is still there.
Yeah.
But when I became incapable of doing some things that I wanted to do, that's when there was a problem. So it was a problem for me because I couldn't do what I wanted, and that was my issue. It wasn't because I was overweight. That didn't bother me. The bother was I couldn't do what I wanted.
Yeah.
So if you're happy where you are, no, it shouldn't rule your life. But if it's affecting you, then yeah, do something about it.
And do you find that I had someone else say this to me a couple of years ago when they went through a similar thing. They said that the more you focused on it, the harder the struggle. But if you didn't put as much focus on and you reframed the way you looked at it, like you just said, instead of focusing on it as I must lose weight, I must lose weight, I must lose weight, and you looked at it as I want to achieve this, I want to do this, I want to do that. Do you find that's a better approach to look at it? And is that something you've done over the time?
Yeah, it certainly is. I think as soon as you go, I need to have a diet. That D word is so dangerous. It just, you fail because it's too hard.
Yeah.
Nobody can cut out everything, all carbs, all sugars, everything for a long period of time. It's not sustainable.
Yeah.
So you cut out a few things or cut out one thing and you start there and you just keep progressing forward slowly. Because if you do it all at once, you fail and then you feel even worse and you put more weight back on.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you stop diet, you eat normal food again, and plus extra because you're feeling crap about yourself because you failed your diet, and you put an extra 5 kilos on.
Because as you said, there were times over the years we mentioned before where you had tried to lose weight, and then, and also I guess it's sometimes a struggle. You mentioned at times because you're in an environment as well. If you're by yourself, sometimes it's a little easier, sometimes it's not. And same if you're with a partner and kids, that if you are all eating a certain way. Now, for example, you've done it alone. I've got another friend of mine went to school with. Her and her husband did it. And so it was a little bit more, it was a little easier, she found, with that, because it was her and hubby doing it. So they were doing it together. But then I spoke to her a couple of times and she said, well, hubby's dropping it quicker than I am. And then she was getting upset about that as well.
Yeah.
So, you know, it becomes a struggle because sometimes, and I don't know, you can add to this if you like, that sometimes you are at that size because it is food related, diet related. Sometimes it's from, you know, there's a lot of people that struggle with underactive or overactive thyroids and diabetes and stuff like that. And sometimes those things are from putting the weight on, from eating the foods they eat and stuff like that sort of thing. You're right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, like I said, I know that when I eat bad, I feel rubbish. Like I feel tired and lethargic, and I can't focus, and you know, all of those things. It just changes.
And with you, was there ever a time when you were going through it, you just went, oh, this is too hard, or this is just so not worth it, and it's too painful or too uncomfortable, or were you really focused on an end goal of why you were doing it? Can you talk us through that part?
Oh gosh, it probably depends on the day that you ask me. I mean, everybody has those days where they go, "Man, this is too hard." You know,
Yeah.
I keep saying M&Ms. You think I like M&Ms? Everybody wants to eat the M&Ms.
Yeah.
You know, all the time. But look, I started and went, okay, you know, you've got to do something about this, and I got my head focused on. And by the time I lost that first 20 kilos with doing a shake diet before surgery, the day I got into that surgery, I could have done the surgery myself. I was that confident. Like I was like, let's just do this. Yep, I give me the scalpel. I'm doing it. Move over. You know, so I was super, super focused by the time I got there. But between start and there, I had days I went to bed early because I thought, I'm starving myself here. What am I doing? Because I was only on shakes. I was grumpy. I was hungry. So I put myself to bed, you know, because I'm thinking I can't.
You've had too many mood swings. Get into bed.
Yep.
Get into the naughty corner.
You know, and it was, what are you doing? Why are you putting yourself through this? Why are you putting your family through this? And the reason was, I've got to be able to function. I have to be able to live my life.
Yeah.
You know, and so I had that surgery, and constantly up and down, constantly back on shake diets, constantly, you know, I don't eat carbs. I eat a lot of protein, you know, and we all get off the wagon and have to pull ourselves back on. You know, it's the new year. I've had to pull myself back and gone, right, you've got to get back on your diet properly again. Because over Christmas and over lockdown and things like that, we've all put some kilos on. So we need to rethink how we're eating. But it's more rethink, I guess not diet, but how are we eating, you know, so we can fuel ourselves properly.
And I guess, well, fueling yourself properly is probably the best line there to use, because you and I have talked about, there's been other people we've known over the years. Both of us have known separate people and that they've done it, and some have done really well and some have really struggled and put, you know, over half the weight back on. I knew someone who put nearly all the weight back on. And I just think, you know, it goes back to that 20% that only succeed and 80% that don't, sort of thing. But it really, it's really more about mindset and being kind to yourself, would you say, when it comes to those rough days and stuff? Because I mean, if I can add, over Christmas. You know, there were a couple of times you had a couple of drinks and whatever else and stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
But you seem to have been able to maintain around that 79, 81 kilos, and you want to drop it down to sort of 75. But I mean, you haven't ballooned from 80 to 100 just by letting it go. So do you have a drink or have a bag of M&Ms or a couple of M&Ms with hubby and then go, okay, I know where this is going? Or do you just do it? And then what do you tell yourself? Do you tell yourself, I've put all this effort in and I don't want to let it go? Or, okay, Rosie, we've had a little treat, go and have a salad, or go and you talk about meal prep as well, sort of thing. So I'm hearing when we have these conversations, it's all preparation, but I kind of see there's starting to be a bit of a pattern with you more. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think you just learn, you've gone through a bit of a Christmas period. We all do it. We eat, and then you go, okay, Rose, pull it back into line. You've had your fun, now pull it back into a line. And that doesn't mean that next Friday I might go out with the work colleagues and have a couple of drinks. That's fine. But, just make sure you're giving your body some decent food in the meantime.
Yeah.
So it's that mindset. Yeah, it's that mindset. Make sure you're actually feeding your body. Not dieting, feed your body. Yeah.
Big choice, a big difference in words there. If you go, I've got to stick to the diet, you're actually saying, I've got to stick to not eating anything that I shouldn't and then slapping myself in the boxing ring later because I didn't do it right. And instead of just saying, okay, I need to get through this day. It's going to be a big day. I need to pace myself, Yeah. And do you find now so it was October 2019, you had the skin removal surgery.
Mm-hmm.
It was quite painful. I mean, I saw the bruises and stuff. You showed me the photos and stuff like that.
Yeah, full on.
From then to now that it is becoming easier in your mind on yourself, because this is really, I talk about relationships with other people, but it's really the relationship you have. Are you finding it any easier how you're treating yourself and how you're talking to yourself about now, or is it still a real struggle, or it's got a lot easier?
I think it's easier, but it's still there.
Yeah.
Like the last couple of days, I've tried on the clothes where I was at my lowest, so 71. Couldn't do the zip up. I was like, oh, you fat bloomin' biatch. And then I'm like, no, that was at your very lowest. And that is actually normal to go right down and then gain 10. And I'm like, Rose, put it in perspective. You were there, but you're not back at 150.
Yeah.
But you're hard on yourself. And I think anybody that says that they're not or it's easy is full of crap, because it's hard every day.
Yeah. Just looking at the comments, we've got a stack of comments coming up. Sandy's, wow. I say confidence. After Aya's comment, Brookie's in the house. Welcome, Brooke. Sounds like those friends weren't suitable for your life, not the other way around.
That's it. Get rid of those ones.
Nice. Small goals achieved gains confidence for the big goal. Here he is. That's right. Every time I want to eat something, I always think if I should do it. Okay. Mindset, lifestyle change versus calling it a diet. Exactly.
Mm-hmm. That D word is so dangerous. Really is.
And it's used so much that it's now just like, I hear some companies are going with their marketing, and you're in marketing, don't say diet.
No.
Don't say diet, because it's now
the worst swear word ever.
Well, yeah, exactly. You took the words right out of my mouth. It's
worst swear word.
There's other words that start with C and F and everything else like that.
Oh, no, they're fine.
Going, no,
don't say that D word.
Is worse than all the others sort of them. Men always lose faster, lean muscle.
Yeah, that's so unfair that men do. They do drop fast.
I feel much better even with 16 kilos less.
16 kilos is huge, mate. Absolutely huge.
But for me, it feels like a lost game from the beginning. I feel that there is something we don't know about it, all this. Why can some people eat all they want without you can see anything and feel it? I gain weight only looking at food, and I love good food, chips and chocolate included, but it does not feel good to be big. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I hate that. I've got this skinny girl at work and she eats nonstop, and oh my God, she can eat.
Oh, yes. And where did she put it? Yeah, we went and saw her the other week. I think her big toe was a little bit bigger.
Oh my God, it just makes me sick. Yeah.
Brookie's in the house.
Oh, Brookie's in the house.
That's it for that. So yeah, look, it's good because there's a lot of people that are probably looking at it this year and sort of thinking, well, I'd like to do something different with my life, but I'm not quite sure on how to go about it. And that if someone came to you and says, look, like they're saying, he wants to do everything without doing the surgery and stuff. But if him or someone come to you and went, I don't know, I'm at a loss, I'm not quite sure, should I do the surgery? It's easy to say, just go do the surgery. And I think everyone always is also wanting to look for the magic pill. And you and I have talked about it's not always just a magic pill, but the I guess the mindset going into it. If you wanted to go back to you at the start and give yourself a bit more of a prep talk about, is there anything you would say to yourself or say to someone who's thinking of either doing the surgery or just struggling at that 150 kilos or 330 pounds, and they're just like, I can't do this? Because you and I talked about years ago, well, not years ago, months ago, about you wish you had done earlier because you've been able to do more with your kids and you would have been able to do more with them earlier, sort of thing. So if someone, was out there and sort of going, I'm struggling in that, what would you say to them, just to, with what you've been through?
I certainly wish I'd done it earlier than I did.
Mm-hmm.
I like you just said, I play with my niece and nephew now, and I go, man, I can actually play with them. I thought I played with my kids, but I didn't. So I sort of feel a little bit sad that I've missed out with them. But I guess my biggest thing is, if you're not happy, change some things, but just start small. So say you have sugar in your coffee, right? So remove your sugar. It's just one little change, and stay with that one change for a few months. Once you master that one change, add the next one. And those little things add up. And before you know it, those kilos will start dropping off. But also find someone that is supportive with you. Find someone that will support you through it. A group, a friend.
Accountability button.
Yeah, you've got to have someone there that can support you. I mean, my husband is here. He's a great support. There's so many different groups, dietitians. You've got to have that support. Yeah. Message me.
There you go. reach out to Rosie, and she can help you or offer some support. By all means, definitely do it. I'm just looking through some of the things we were saying in our chat the other night when we talked about having you on.
I do need to tell you a story about relationships. When I had the skin removal surgery, I was in there and I was really scared for that surgery because I knew it was going to be big. Now I'm waiting there and I was starting to feel quite panicky. And my husband's standing next to me, and I said to him, I'm not doing this. I'm going. And he looks at me, and he, in that split second, has to decide, do I make her stay or do I race her to the car? and he's like, okay, you're fine. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not doing it. Let's go. And he was so calm, and he just says, no, you're fine. We'll be okay. It's okay. And I just think, you poor bugger, you didn't know whether or not to pack me up and run with me or make me stay, but he knew I wanted to do it.
Yeah, because there's a fine line with partners. Am I being encouraging or am I being an ass by doing this? And I don't know how this is going to turn out. Yeah, bit of a struggle there.
Oh yes, yeah.
And so, what did you do?
He really, what he did is when he got the surgeon and said, can you knock her out early? Because she's going to do a runner.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing I think also some people forget. They lose the weight, and then I suppose that next step of getting the skin removal. Because I remember here in Australia we had, which is in a lot of countries, the show The Biggest Loser, and I think it was the first round of The Biggest Loser, and I think the winner of that was a guy called Andro, and I remember hearing a story a couple of years later, and he lost all that weight, but then it was the skin removal surgery, and he said that was the hardest and the most painful part about it. But he said if he knew what it was going to give him and what he's got from it since, there'd be no doubt about it. But it is a bit of a struggle because, as you said, you virtually had that little bit of area right on the back, and then you're cut right around the middle, sort of thing. And I think you joked about it sometimes. If anyone ever saw your scar, you're going to say that you just got you weren't happy with your legs or something, and you got them extended or something. So
Yeah, just decided I needed a new set of legs because it literally looks like I've been cut in half.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's only 13 months ago, so there's still quite a bit of a scar there, but it's fading and it will, get gone eventually. Well, it'll always be there, but
yeah.
Yeah.
Incredible, girl. Incredible. It really is. Because as I said, there are a lot of different areas, and I suppose, not to go into detailed stuff, but there is resistance, even with not necessarily your hubby and the kids, but family and friends and so forth. But you also had another member of the family have the same surgery. Am I right?
Yeah. My sister saw how successful I was and has done the same thing and has been successful as well. So, I had over Christmas, I had a work colleague go to my surgeon and do the same thing after seeing how well I'd done.
Yeah.
So yeah, that makes me feel good. I'm inspiring people to change their life.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. Do you ever still look in the mirror and just go, still struggle to get used to seeing who you are now compared to?
Yeah. You catch your reflection walking past a shop and you're like, who's that? Oh, hang on, that's me. And yeah, it does. It's really tough. Yeah.
And also, then it was the letting go of all the clothes and
Oh, that
having
was the fun bit.
yeah.
That was the fun bit. I remember, I think it was between, when I was on that pre-op diet and walking past Portman's here in Australia, which is, they do size, I think, from 8 to 16. I could never shop there. And I was looking in the window and I went, oh, I wonder if one day I'll be able to shop in there.
Yeah.
My whole wardrobe's that now,
Yeah.
But you just, looking back, you've got to maybe remind myself where I've come from some days.
And also, if I can add, I mean, you talk about Portman's, but when you worked in retail, you worked for a company called City Chick, which was clothes for big ladies.
Absolutely.
So you ever walk past there and just go, man, just wow.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's, I mean, even just talking about it now, it's making me go, yeah, Rose, you've really got to appreciate how far you've come in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
And
how have the boys been with you? Because you recently spent summer, because it is summer here in Australia, you actually wore what did you wear for the first time?
All right. First time in my life, I wore a bikini.
Wow.
Yep. And man, did I feel naked. Yep.
Yeah.
Totally uncomfortable. And then I'm like, no, you've got this. You're fine. I mean, I had a shirt over the top because I felt that uncomfortable being that naked out in public, but I slowly got used to it. Yeah. And I have my boys are 17 and 19 and they're just, I think they're proud of me. And they just go, Mum, it's like your mum, but you're different mum.
Yeah.
But you're still mum. Like that's how they describe it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. It's incredible because, and this is the reason why I wanted to bring it up, because there's a lot of people, as we said, A has jumped on a couple of times and sort of put some comments up there and stuff. And there are people out there that really just sort of get to a point where I suppose you're like, well, I want to lose the weight, but I'm not quite sure how to go about it. Do I do the surgery? Do I do shakes? And as you and I discussed quite a few times, it's not, and I would like some input from you about this, but it's not necessarily how you go about it, as in what, if it's surgery or shakes and that, but it's more about, as you said before, the little things, starting off. I know I read a story recently, and a couple of days ago, about fasting, because I do that. And they say that sometimes if you're really wanting to understand what affects you, is you can do it a couple of different ways. If you're going to fast, you can fast off certain amount of foods. It could be sugar, coffee, whatever else. And then slowly, you stay off it for a week or a couple of weeks, and then you add one, and you just stay on that for a while, and then you add another, and you can see how it works, which is not an easy thing for people to do, sort of thing, where you said the other way is to sort of, just say no coffee and sugar for a little while, and then
no coffee in your sugar, no sugar in your coffee.
No sugar in your It is still 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning, sort of thing.
Gosh.
So if you guys are watching at the moment, if you've got any questions for Rosie, please put them in the comments, and we can ask. If you're still watching, you got any comments or questions you have for her, please put them in there, and we can ask before we wrap up. If you've got any comments and you're watching the replay, by all means, put them in, and Rosie will jump on and get her to answer them and that. And if you want her details of contact, just reach out to me, and I can pass them on to you. And if you need some support, or you want to ask any questions of her, I mean, there's probably hundreds of questions you'd want to ask. But look, at the end of the day, really, the biggest struggle when we do change, and as we said, when you said about those stats, 75 to 85% of people end in divorce. Now, from a relationship coach point of view, if I can say, is that if you're doing it to, look good, and to get out of the relationship, don't go about that way. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how many great relationships you have on the outside. It's got to be the relationship with yourself. Am I right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think if you've gone into that with the attitude of I need to be slim and I need to be trim to make my husband happy, and it's about you, it's not about anybody else.
Yeah.
How are you going to make you happy?
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be that I have to be super trim to be happy. Because I think
And
if you have that attitude, it's just not going to work.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people that do that, and then they lose the weight, and then they lose the husband, or they lose the wife, and they go, well, that's a waste. And then they put it all back on. So it does come down, as you said before, mindset. You've got to really, I guess, if you say love yourself a bit more, you've got to start to respect yourself a bit more, and so forth, and not necessarily do it for them, but you've got to do it for yourself. Yeah. If it keeps them, and it's an added bonus. If it doesn't, well, as I think Brookie said before, if those friends weren't friends, if they were going to leave you because of the size of who you were, sort of thing, because you're still you haven't become. I've known you, for quite 15 or something years, sort of thing, and you're still the same person as you were when I first met you, when you walked into my store, when I walked in, but you're just different on the outside, sort of thing. But you've got to get to the point where you've got to show yourself a hell of a lot more respect. You've got to be, as we're saying with Aya before, is to not be too hard on yourself.
Yeah, be kind.
Yeah, give yourself a break, sort of thing. Don't beat yourself up, or you get to the end of the day. I know that a lot of people, being the new year, a lot of people start off on New Year's resolutions, and I think Anthony Robbins even says this, that I think it's the third week in January where people just already have broken their New Year's resolution.
Yeah.
Because you're not going about it the right way. You're going to go, I'm going to clear COVID. By 15th, you're like, nah, can't be bothered, too hard. Or I'm going to drink. And then you realize you got like 4 birthdays in January and you're like, well, and sometimes you've got to give people a heads up and say, look, I'm not drinking. I'll be coming to your party, but I'm not drinking. I know there's a couple of people on here at the moment, including myself, that are doing not doing a dry July, but it's virtually just, having a break from the alcohol sort of thing, just to sort of, clarity of mind, I guess.
And I think we need to change the way we word things. The person before, I'm sorry, I've forgotten his name, but 16 kilos, that's huge. Like, you haven't only lost 16 kilos, you have lost 16 kilos. Like, that is amazing. Like, you should be proud of that. Don't look at all the weight maybe you still have to lose. Look at that 16 kilos and what that looks like. Be proud of that. That's absolutely massive. Well done.
Where are we? That
2
kilogram bag. Look at it. It's nearly the size of my head. A 2 kilogram bag of potatoes. You've lost 8 of these. 16 kilos. 8 bags of potatoes. So when you say 16 kilos, that's what you've lost.
And imagine carrying that around every day, like 8 of those every day. Everything you do, carry 8 of those around and see how you feel.
One of the biggest things on that Biggest Loser show that they say is when they're halfway through losing their weight, they get them to wear those weight vests, and it's all their weight they've lost, and you see them like struggling, and it's like, and I've heard a couple of interviews with people, and they say that's been one of the biggest snap moments during that, when they realize that they haven't lost, and they're like, oh, this one's lost 60 kilos and this one's lost 40 kilos. I've lost 18 kilos. But then when they have to carry that 18 kilos, they go, oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, I'm glad I'm not. Oh, man. Yeah, no, get it off me. Get it off me. It makes it. You sometimes, I use a little scenario I've used with clients over the years, and it's mountain climbers. And mountain climbers, when they climb a mountain, say they're climbing Mount Everest, they have a plan. They got to get to base camp, and then there's a second base camp before they start mounting, and they have a plan on how they get up there. But they always say that sometimes when you're going up there, and not just Everest, but other mountains, there are times where the weather changes and shit turns bad, and you've got to go, whoa, okay, we got to buckle down now. And they pitch a tent, they find somewhere to stay the night or a day or so, and they pitch a tent and they go in there. Now, they go in there, 1, to rest. They go in there, 2, to clear their mind and reassess things and make sure that where they're going and time and check maps and everything else. And then when the weather clears, they get out. And this one particular climber, I remember, it was a female climber, and she talked about she'd get all her tent packed up and everything else like that, and she'd be ready to climb. But before she did, she'd sit there and she would not look at the top of the mountain and go, oh, man, shit. What she would do, she would spend about 15 minutes of meditation, and she would sit there, but before she did, she'd sit there and she'd look down at how far she had come. She would look down and go, I've still got a lot to go, but wow. She's looking down, and she said, the houses are tiny, you can't even see the people. Yes, you've still got a long way to go, but you've got to really show gratitude. You really got to appreciate. You really got to give yourself a pat on the back and say, you know what? For Aya, I've just come 16 kilos,
Massive.
I might have another, I don't know, 6, 10, 20, 30 pounds, 50 pounds or whatever to go, but I've come that far, so far. I mean,
it's like,
I
know, that's huge. That's absolutely huge.
8. Look at it. It's the size of my head. It's 8 of my head.
That's huge. It's also, so okay.
Huge.
Yeah. I also like it's how you look at things. So this is my second coffee for this morning. I could go, oh my God, Rose, you've had 2 coffees today.
Look how tiny that cup is.
It's huge. But this has 2 coffees with no sugar. Before I would have had 2 coffees with 4 teaspoons of sugar. So 2 in each. Okay. So that's
You're
4
sweet enough
teaspoons of
to
sugar.
You don't need sugar.
Ah, sweet enough. But that's something, I no longer have.
Yeah.
High five me.
Yeah, come on. Way. Get a few more there. Rosie, look at you. A good story and well done, Rosie. Bye, guys. Great interview. Sandy's got to run. Brookie, 16 kilograms is huge. Pick up a 16 grab of one. Oh, there we go. I didn't even see your comment there. 16 by 1 kilogram bags of sugar and see if it's only 16. You got to be proud of yourself. Well, exactly, Brooke. Exactly. Yeah, I feel a big difference, but it's a hard fight to keep it down. I will try. Don't try. Just do your best, man. That's all you can do. You wake up each day. Like I was saying before, you get to a point where start of the new year, people go, oh, well, I failed by the 17th. I'll do it next year. Why can't you just start again tomorrow? Why can't you start it again on Monday?
Yeah.
Why can't you start again, after lunch? It doesn't have to be the start of the year. It doesn't have to be the start of the week. It doesn't even have to be the start of the day. You just got to start. I remember when I look back as a kid, you'd see a lot of, you'd be out having fun and you'll see kids laughing at something and you'll look across and it might be like a big person, a woman or a man, and they're walking along and they're struggling to walk along. And we've got walkers right behind underneath this with this train line that I've got next to me. And as a kid, you just go, oh, fat person walking on that. But, because kids are cruel. But as you get older, you see it. And I see some people and I'm like, that's what I should be doing. And I'm not even half their size. I'm getting on my bike or my scooter or something like that, or, the car. But sometimes you've just got to go, no, they're walking. They could be sitting on the couch. They could be sitting on the couch, eating their carbs, drinking their alcohol, watching 22 hours flat straight of Netflix, but they're out there walking. Just do it one day and see if you bug it at the end of it. And you're like, all right, I'll try it again another time this week. Do it 2 days. But as you said, bit by bit, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Have any final words, Miss Rosie, you'd like to add or help, pass on to anyone out there?
Oh, just be nice to yourself about it. Don't be harsh on yourself. If you make a wrong decision about what you eat, that's okay. We all do it. Just make, the next one, try and get it right. If you don't, try the next one. You'll get there.
Definitely. Well, thank you again for joining us this morning for the first one of the year.
No problem.
We've talked to you a couple of times before, and you've been on, Sandy's show as well and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think sometimes at the start of the year, it's something that, might be crossing people's minds, and they're struggling with whatever they're doing. As I said, this time of the month, which is in the 16th to the 17th, depending on where you are in the world, that you sort of, you're like already ditching your New Year's resolutions and so forth. So, but I suppose it's a good way to approach anything. It doesn't have to be also about food, but it also, relationships and so forth. If it's not good for you, if it's not fueling you right, maybe it's just best to let it go, sort of thing. Because there's a lot of people out there, and I've worked with people that have lost weight and so forth, and they've even had their parents treat them differently and so forth. And it's rotten. It's disgusting. It's, but that's their issue. It's not your issue. They're adults and they're trying to make you feel bad about doing something that you're doing for you. Don't let anyone, if you need to do something for yourself and other people are not happy with it, as one of the Brooks was saying before, maybe they're not the right friends. And, even if they're family, just because they're family doesn't mean they know everything and they are right and they are correct. At the end of the day, you've got to do what's right for you. You need to, be clear on what it is that you want to achieve. If you have to do a vision board, I had a friend of mine who's going to be doing a vision board course coming up in February. By all means, let us know and put hashtag vision board in there, and I'll send you the link when she gets that up and running. But get clear on what it is you want. Get clear on what you want to achieve and who you want to be, who you want to feel. Doesn't have to be looking on the outside. It's how you feel in the morning. I remember when I lost 15 kilos a couple of years ago, and it ended up being nearly an argument when we first did it, because I was talking to my partner at the time. She was in the bedroom and I was trying to put a shoe on, and she said something and I said, "Argh!" And she thought I was getting angry at her, but I wasn't. I was actually pissed at myself because I was trying to put the shoe on, and I thought, you know what? This shouldn't be this hard to just bend over and put a friggin' pair of runners on, a pair of sneakers. It really shouldn't. And then we ended up having an argument. I'm like, I wasn't talking to you. It was my shoe. I was getting pissed because I was trying to put my shoe on, and I'm like struggling with my stomach. And it's just, it's not a good approach, and it doesn't work that way. And they're the things that you sort of go, okay, this is not working. Yep. As a coach, sometimes I help people focus on what they want to achieve, but sometimes that doesn't work. Sometimes you got to focus on what you don't want. So I've either got to get them to aim towards where they're going, or get them away from what could be if they don't do something about it. Would you agree? Absolutely.
Yep.
All right, guys, thank you very much for joining. Thank you to Miss Rosie for joining us today. It's
worries.
Having you. I hope if you're out there and you're watching and this has been helpful, feel free to share it, because we want as many people out there to feel, a lot better about themselves and might help them achieve that. And he has got one more comment. Interesting hour. Good start of the year with good help from Rosie. Thank you both for interesting stream. Thanks, buddy. Thank you very much for joining us too. Really appreciate it, man. I know it's not an easy thing, as you said before, but if I can pass Rosie's details on, if you need to speak to her or any one of us at all, by all means, just reach out. And if you're watching and this has been as helpful as I said, please feel free to share it or tag someone in it, because it may be something they just need to hear right now. It might not even be weight loss. It might be something they're struggling with, and they're like, how do I go about it? Is it going to affect my family? If it's going to affect my friends, at the end of the day, it's how it's affecting you. There are times where you get everyone else happy, but you're left feeling unhappy. We don't want that to happen. So anyway, as always, thank you for watching us. We will be back next Sunday at the same new time, which is 8 a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time here in Australia, 7 p.m. Queensland time. And check your local time converter website for by the way, I was going to throw a question up there. I forgot to put it up. I'll put it up now. But what is the one thing you want to do differently for 2021 for yourself? So put your answer, hashtag AQA, in the comments, and what you'd want to do for yourself to help you feel a little bit better. It can be weight loss. It can be a new job. It can be getting a new partner, getting rid of an old partner, or whatever. Put it in there. But by all means, definitely do that. As always, you can find me at jasonmayer.com. Look us up on the socials. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and please subscribe if you're watching YouTube, or at least like the video and hit the bell if you want the latest tips on relationships. We will be back next weekend, next Sunday our time, with another hopefully great guest. And by all means, have a great week. I think there you go. Oh, that's the wrong banner. We were doing that one out. But thank you guys for watching. Until next week, stay safe, look after yourselves. Don't beat yourselves up. If things are not going well, just give yourselves a break, okay? Talk to you then.
Bye.